The Starbucks logo, a mythological half-woman typically called a siren. The half-fish, half-woman variety is usually known as a mermaid. According to the ancient Greeks, sirens seduced mariners with songs and promises of sex and then killed them. The original cigar band Starbucks logo had a slightly altered version of the 15th century twin-tailed siren, Melusine. In the legend, Melusine agreed to marry a man on the condition that she be left alone one day a week to do as she pleased in private. After some years, the man became jealous and broke into her room. There he discovered that his wife assumed the form of a mermaid. Angry that he broke his promise, Melusine transformed herself into a dragon and departed in a shrieking fury. He never saw her again. Heckler Associates, the design firm behind the Starbucks logo, modified the logo at a few points in the company's history. The first time was when they were designing the first Starbucks delivery trucks. The logo was huge, and so the attention went to certain areas on the mermaid. Heckler said he was getting some flack about the mermaid looking pregnant, so he redrew her belly button to appear as a question mark. It remained that way for a year or two. Heckler also redrew her hairstyle to cover up her breasts. As Starbucks expanded across the country, the number of letters from women complaining about the siren's risque pose grew, and so he made further changes. Then came the more familiar green version of the logo. The chest was hidden, but the belly button and only a hint of the tails remained. Stars were also added. In Portland, Oregon, we saw a new type of siren on the Starbucks sign. She only had one tail. perhaps the image of a fish woman spreading her tails that's on its way out. What is this powerful attraction to the mermaid that is so compelling? The mermaid claims a long and rich ancestry that dates back to a multitude of fishtail gods and goddesses from some of man's earliest civilizations. The sea, as womb of creation and the source of wisdom, has always played an important role in world beliefs. The gods of the sea are among some of the most powerful in history. Their strength lives on in a host of entities, symbolic of the shifting, ever-changing, dual nature of the sea as both life-giver and destroyer. Ever since man first set to sea to deliver coffee and spices, sailors have tried to ensure safe passage by attempting to make peace with unpredictable water gods by mounting a mermaid on the ship's figurehead. Years later, the mermaid and siren images started appearing during World War II in the form of nose art on thousands of bombers and fighter escorts. Mermaids have beckoned the adventurous to the unknown and the promise of forbidden fruits. In numerous tales told of them, they would often foretell the future and give supernatural powers to human beings, or fall in love with human beings and entice their mortal lovers to follow them beneath the sea. Wells, springs, rivers, and lakes were sacred places in many cultures. Sacred waters are traditionally haunted by various female spirits, suggesting suppressed memories of a goddess. The water habitat symbolizes fertility, mystery, purification, reflection, motion, life, power, and the subconscious. In many of the mermaid and siren myths, the protagonist dissolves into the depths of the water. Behind the seductive image of the siren lurks the metaphor of death and metamorphosis. We were born of the water and have transmuted into the human form. Carl Jung suggests that supernatural forces spring from the fusion of two biologically different entities, opposites that embrace and explain practically everything. Jung believed symbols materialize on their own account in our dreams, the expression of which is beyond the dimensions of time and space, and in the sphere of unspecified and unlimited. These symbols possess a numinous character and impress themselves on the general consciousness, disturbing for those minds used to operation within the limits of logic and rationality. He says we can suppose that primordial images, sediments of accumulated memory, collective input have a life of their own, independent of single individuals. Jung also observed, a symbol always stands for something more than its obvious and immediate meaning. Post-Freudian thought had exposed the legendary fish-tailed seductress as the personification of the hidden desires of the sexual subconscious, symbolizing primitive castration anxieties and the urge to return to the amniotic waters of the womb. For the medieval church, the harlot mermaid personified the unnatural desires which stood between a man and his chance of salvation. Lilith, the one goddess with 1,000 names, is one of the most popular identities in human culture. She dates back as far as 2,000 years BC as depicted by the Sumerians. In other depictions, Lilith is represented as a beautiful woman from the waist up and as a snake from the waist down. Lilith typically symbolizes rebellion, rage, and an untamed sexual nature. She is also known as a Sumerian demon, the seductive succubus, the bride of Satan, and Adam's first wife. Barbie was copied from a German adult doll by the name of Lily. Now young girls today can buy Mermaid Barbie or go see The Little Mermaid. The powerful role that mermaids, goddesses, and sirens continue to play in our culture confirms the depth of their identity in the human experience and our collective unconscious. They embody themes that are always with us, but not often on the surface of our daily experience and perception. There is a Kurdish proverb that says, "He who wants pearls has to dive into the sea," and a Russian proverb that says, "Not everything is a mermaid that dives into the water." The Song of the Siren calls us to hurl into the deep, to transform, to die to self and emerge into a new form with new knowledge and understanding. All of this when you drink a Starbucks coffee.
Dr. Evil, several years ago we invested in a small, Seattle-based coffee company. Today, Starbucks offers premium quality coffee at affordable prices. Delish. Dr. Evil, if we shift our resources away from evil empires and towards Starbucks, we can increase our profits 5-fold.
Number two, I make the decisions here, okay? I demand a little respect.
For most of the year, this dusty road in Honduras is more apt to see foot traffic or horses than it is to see large trucks. But beginning in mid-November, and for the next 3 months, you will see these trucks daily in the early morning hours. They're not carrying merchandise or even produce to market. It's coffee harvest season here in Honduras, and they are carrying a much more precious cargo. Entire villages, men, women, and children are being transported to the coffee fincas to pick the beans we roast for our morning brew. These remote high mountains of western Honduras and eastern Guatemala produce some of the finest coffees in the world. So much of it, in fact, that almost all of the rural residents are needed for the harvest. In Honduras, the school year is scheduled around the harvest so the kids may join their families in the fields. Coffee season in Central America is like Thanksgiving, Christmas, and the birthday all rolled into one, as most of the cash they make for the year will be earned in the next 3 months, and every bit of it is needed. One of these kids is a Chorti Maya boy named Manuel. Manuel is a 12-year-old Honduran 6th grader who we found picking coffee in the mountains near Copan. He said he looks forward to the harvest season, as it allows him to make a little money with which he can help his family, perhaps buy himself some new second-hand clothes, and maybe a little treat or two. Manuel, his cousin Alejandro, and their friend Miguel have banded together to pick and sort coffee this season as a group. They are pretty typical Honduran kids. When they can, they attend this little clapboard school in their mountaintop village of San Isidro, where there is no running water, no electricity, and the average income of a village worker is less than $1.50 a day. There is no store, and obviously, no medical care available in their village. The boys will pick and sort 3 large bags of coffee cherries today, about 50 pounds each, and then carry them 2 miles down the mountainside to the farmhouse. For their day's work, they hope to make 100 Honduran lempiras, about $5, to be split between them. This is the usual pay for coffee harvesting. Without access to healthcare and education, this is the future they look forward to in their adult lives.
I'm making this video because I need to put Starbucks on blast. I need to expose Starbucks to this disgusting thing that they do. Alright, now I work at Starbucks. There's my little logo, my green apron. Alright, everything in Starbucks has a list of ingredients on it, except for the skinny mocha. Now, every day when I change the skinny mocha, when I make a new batch of skinny mocha, it won't even be completely expired. It'll be less than 24 hours. And I swear to God, the skinny mocha, it smells like human death. Do not ever order the skinny mocha. And like I said again, it's the only thing that doesn't have a list of ingredients on it. Now I will show you everything we have so that you can see that everything has ingredients on it except for the skinny mocha. Alright, here's the vanilla bean powder. Has a list of ingredients. This is the Frappuccino roast. It has the ingredients on it. This is the caramel sauce, the caramel drizzle that goes on top of the caramel Frappuccinos. It has a list of ingredients on it. The white mocha. The white mocha has a list of ingredients. The regular mocha has a list of ingredients on it. This is the coffee Frappuccino base that we use as a thickening agent for the Frappuccinos. This is the cream base, and this is the light base. As you can see, they all list the ingredients. This is the strawberry juice that we use in strawberries and cream Frappuccinos and strawberry smoothies. This is the Oprah chai. This is the regular Tazo chai. This is the lemonade that we use for all of the iced tea lemonades. As you can see, there is a list of ingredients on it. Now, let me show you the bag of skinny mocha. Okay. Says that it's low calorie, not for retail sale. It says the directions on how to make it, and then it has all that crap written on it. It tells you the net weight, but nowhere on here does it list the ingredients, and the back is completely blank except for the expiration date. Do not order the skinny mocha. Okay. This is what I make the skinny mocha in. And every day when I make a new batch, I know I keep reiterating this over and over again, but it's because you need to know. Every day when I make a new batch, I open this bottle, and it literally smells like human death. So unless you want to be poisoned by whatever the hell they put in this, I don't know what they put in it. Nobody knows what they put in it. Don't order skinny mochas.
What did they get called for? Because there are two black guys sitting here meeting me? Yes. Well, what did they do? What did they do? Did someone tell me what they did?
They didn't do anything. I saw the entire thing.
They didn't. What did they do?
Nothing. And the woman says for paying customers and after us to leave. They didn't do anything.
I was just trying to, process the situation to myself at the time, because I'm thinking about my family that I have, my community. So in that moment, I'm trying to process what's going on because it didn't really hit me what was going on.
We need a real and actual solid apology. I am not...
What did you think when you saw police arrive, Dante?
It can't be here for us. They just said we have to leave. There was no question of, was there a problem here? He wasn't read any rights. Nothing. Just double lock, handcuffs behind our back, and escorted out and put into a squad car.
We approached Starbucks and suggested that we engage in mediation.
That it's not just a black people thing. This is a people thing. And that's exactly what we want to see out of this, and that's true change. So put action into place and stop using your words.
Anger spreading in Philadelphia and across the country over an incident at a Starbucks last Thursday. A manager calling police asking that 2 black men be removed from the store for trespassing. The men had asked to use the restroom but were told it was for customers only. Then they sat at a table waiting for a friend to arrive but didn't make a purchase. The scene caught on camera by other customers.
What did they get called for? Because there are 2 black guys sitting here meeting me? Yes, well, what did they do? What did they do? Did someone tell me what they did?
They didn't do anything. I saw the entire thing.
They didn't. What did they do?
Nothing. And the woman said it's for...
The 2 men arrested and handcuffed. They weren't charged and eventually were released. Joining me now is Melissa DePino, an eyewitness. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us. You were in that Starbucks when these men were arrested?
I was in the Starbucks.
And tweeted out this video. So tell us what you saw leading up to this video.
Well, I really just noticed something was happening when I saw 2 police officers come into the Starbucks and go over and talk to the men, and then a couple more officers came in, and then a couple more, and I think there were 6 or 8 of them. And sometime during that time, their friend, who you can see in the video, showed up. That's who they were meeting. And we were all just wondering, why are all these policemen here? Why are they trying to make these men leave? They were just sitting there like everyone else. And, we all sort of standing up and sort of talking to the people behind the counter and to the police officers and asking what was happening. And then they put them in handcuffs and took them out.
And they were, when the police arrived, I mean, how did the other customers react? Because there was no yelling, nothing, right? They were pretty calm.
There was no yelling. There was no aggression. I mean, people they were sitting there like anybody else would be sitting in a Starbucks at any time. And when the police officers were talking to them, there were no raised voices. I was sitting really close by, and I couldn't hear exactly what they were saying because they were talking in a regular tone. So no, there was no disturbance.
So what did the other customers do? How they react?
Well, most of the other customers got up and started saying, what's, just like the man you see on the video, their friend, I mean, what's going on? Why are they asked to leave? There was another woman who said, oh, I'm sitting here with my Gatorade and I've been here for 2 hours and nobody says anything to me. I mentioned that I had been there in that store the day before, and I sat there for an hour. I didn't order anything. I was waiting for my son, and then I left.
You've been saying that this doesn't happen to white people. That's what you say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can go wherever I want, do whatever I want. This would never happen to me. And, the thing that I've been saying is that, I know that this happens every day to black and brown people in this country, and we just don't hear about it. We don't see it. I mean, it's out there, but people don't see it. They don't hear it. They don't believe it. And having this tweet go viral, over 10 million views, I'm glad it's out there, and that however it got out there, I'm glad it's out there, and I'm glad it's sort of sparking conversation so that people who experience this can be the ones to talk about it.
Once the thing happened this past weekend in Philadelphia, that's when I was like, hey, that same thing happened to me. In the newly resurfaced video, a white Starbucks customer named Weston tells Brandon Ward he had no problems getting access to the bathroom.
You asked for the code and they just gave it to you, right? Before you made a purchase. Yeah.
Ward, who was refused the code minutes earlier, then confronts a Starbucks manager about the apparent double standard.
Business. This is not your business, though. Okay, you may be the store manager, but you're not you're not in charge. I'm not.
He says a security guard escorted him out before police arrived.
It should have been a sign right there that said whites only, because that's how they treated it.
Starbucks CEO Kevin Johnson would not answer questions about the latest video. He was in Philadelphia meeting with the city's mayor and police chief amid growing outcry and protest over the arrest of 2 black businessmen in a Starbucks last week.
Enough is enough!
The men were denied using the store's bathroom because they weren't paying customers. When they refused to leave, a manager called 911. Johnson apologized and wants to meet with the men.
Now, there's been some calls for us to take action on the store manager. I believe that blame is misplaced. In fact, I think the focus of fixing this, I own it.
Now, Starbucks says that the woman who called 911 here no longer works at this store. But the company declined to say whether or not she left on her own, was fired, or simply was transferred to another store.
Starbucks still reeling from several ugly racial incidents. A worker at a La Cañada Flint Ridge Starbucks allegedly wrote a slur that is very offensive to Latinos on a customer's cup. And tonight, people are outraged. KCAL 9's Chris Holmstrom is live tonight with more. Chris?
Jeff, it all happened at this Starbucks you see behind me. It was on Tuesday morning, and as you can imagine, people living in this area are outraged.
En español es frijoleros. Beaner, you know, in English.
Miguel Acosta defending his friend after learning he received this drink from the La Cañada Flint Ridge Starbucks. On the label, a racial slur toward Latinos. His co-worker helps translate.
Yesterday went to Starbucks and they asked for his name, and his name is Peter, and they wrote this beaner, and he's saying that it's not fair.
Miguel says his friend didn't deserve this and doesn't understand why he was targeted.
And his friend's really sad right now with everything that's going through, so it's really hard.
People living nearby also in disbelief.
I'm shocked. I go to that Starbucks almost every day.
And I'm disappointed in Starbucks. I mean, that's when you put something in a computer and put a name on something, you're labeling someone. And I think that's not right.
At Starbucks, customers I spoke with had no idea, but tell me they would have thought twice before making a purchase.
And I guess it brings back a lot of discrimination. It brings back a lot of old, growth that we should have had before.
We're going to turn now to Starbucks shutting down 8,000 of their stores this afternoon for racial bias training after 2 black men were arrested last month, sparking protests across the country. ABC's Lindsay Davis is there in Philadelphia where those arrests took place and this all started. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning, Amy. This location is actually closing at 11:30 this morning, so be sure to get your venti lattes and frappuccinos early because this afternoon Starbucks is shuttering all of its corporate-owned stores across the country. You likely remember the incident that led to this day. Of course, the video of the 2 black men arrested for trespassing at this Philadelphia Starbucks after one of them asked to use the bathroom without making a purchase. Now Starbucks is attempting to use that as a teachable moment. So today at around 2 p.m., more than 8,000 Starbucks locations across the country will close for unconscious bias training for 175,000 employees. Starbucks describes it as a 4-hour master class designed to address implicit bias, promote inclusion, and help prevent discrimination in the hopes of preventing future incidences. Workers will watch a video featuring Starbucks executives, watch a documentary, and then they'll break into smaller discussion groups to talk about their own experiences. Now, one change that's already come about as a result of what happened, the company now says that anyone can use Starbucks spaces, including restrooms, without making a purchase. Now, some critics are saying, hey, this is just all one big PR stunt. But Starbucks is saying, look, we don't expect this to be a magic wand or an overnight fix. This is just the start to a long-term commitment. Amy, they're just starting the conversation.
Dear Starbucks partners, I'm Stanley Nelson, a documentary filmmaker. My films are about race, America, and the decades-long struggle for all people to be treated as equals in public spaces. our town squares, our stores, our fields, our parks, our pools, our restaurants. I made this film to help us understand this important struggle in our country so we can go forward together.
When I go into stores, sometimes I get followed, which is really annoying, and it just gives me, it just makes me uncomfortable, and sometimes I get anxiety, so I have to leave. Especially being a teen of color, they assume that you're doing something bad.
I feel like I'm disturbing people by just being there. Like, people feel uncomfortable when I walk in. I guess I've kind of become numb to it after so many years. Like, this is just my life, and it's just something that I've gotten used to, unfortunately.
I think all of us make that choice at some point of, am I going to take the burden of this interaction being comfortable, or am I going to say, you take the burden of this interaction being comfortable? Because what I really want is a sandwich. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to fight. I'm hungry. Right? I don't want to get into this with you, and I'm really not here to teach you this. But other times, it's like, okay, wait a minute. Lesson time.
Discrimination against African Americans in public spaces has a long history. In the 1960s, black and white students trying to desegregate buses were firebombed. Black patrons were routinely denied service in restaurants and hotels.
I'm sorry, our management does not allow us to serve here.
And civil rights workers were dragged from lunch counters, spat upon, and beaten.
We're willing to be beaten for democracy, and you misuse democracy.
The right to be respected in public spaces was at the heart of the civil rights movement.
They keep thinking we begging them for something. We ain't begging for nothing. We telling them what is ours right now.
The freedom movement of the 1950s and 60s insisted that the United States live up to its Constitution and allow equal access for all. Finally, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was passed, outlawing discrimination in public spaces. But changing the law doesn't always change reality. And being allowed in doesn't always mean being welcomed.
To be welcomed as a customer means that not only do I allow you in, but it means that I'm glad you're here. I want to serve you. I want your business. And I don't draw distinctions between you and other customers in terms of your value. But it's time we talk about what it means to not be welcomed as an American citizen.
It's not like I can mute my actual physical blackness, right? So I just assume that people see a particular thing when they see the color of my skin. So everything else has to be like perfect and clean and as blended in as possible. Is really just an arsenal of different masks, you know? And it happens every time I leave my house.
When I leave my house, regardless of where I'm going, I'm just leaving my house. Just walking out the door. I'm not walking out the door thinking, what kind of hurdle am I going to run into today? What kind of way am I going to be judged? I walk out a free man. I just do my thing.
I have to make sure that I have given enough space between myself and another patron or another commuter on the train, and just ensure that I'm not making someone uncomfortable. I have to make sure that my hands are visible when I walk into certain places so they make sure I'm not stealing. I try to make sure I make eye contact with people who may or may not be security or managerial staff, just to ensure that, I'm not here to hide anything. I watch my tone to make sure that I don't come off as threatening. Just leaving the house some days, sometimes it just keep you at home and just keep you away from everything.
For more than 50 years, equal treatment has been the law. Yet, as we know from cell phone videos, the nightly news, and maybe our own experience, we still have a long way to go.
Why are you following?
Watch this.
You think I'm stealing?
You followed me around the store the whole time. There she goes, she think I'm stealing.
Your card is fake. You're going to jail. That's what I kept hearing.
Unless you're spending money, we don't need.
Oh, I'm not spending money. Am I? Because I'm black. You've been warned.
Your manager does not like black people, honey. Yeah. Oh my God! No, this is wrong. Oh my God! Yeah.
We just need to recognize that Black people are navigating the public space differently than white people, that women are navigating the public space differently than men, and not use the shortcut that has been wired into your brain because of the society that we live in, that tells you when you see me, you should be nervous or you should be worried.
It brought me such despair to the day I recognized I had to explain this to my son, that he was gonna, that this muddy river of racism, he was still gonna have to walk through it. We hadn't dammed it, we hadn't dried it up. It was still there for him to go through. And I've got to somehow try to tell him, okay, off you go.
The society I want to see is I want to be able to walk out the house just as free feeling as that white guy who said he doesn't worry about a thing when he walks out the door. I want to have that same expectation.
Today, discrimination is against the law. It's the people and the systems that support our communities that must follow suit. No one's going to do it for us. What can you do to make our schools, our parks, our stores, our restaurants as welcoming and as inclusive as they can be? What kind of country do we want to live in? Who do we want to be?
BNN.